Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around.
African Americans had always faced the difficulties of a prejudiced society. Voting requirements had always restricted them from fully acting on their rights. They were obligated to pass a literary test and were intimidated by many people. They stood up for themselves with campaigns, marches, and mass gatherings, especially in Selma. After a long fight, they finally got the Voting Rights Act to Congress.
After the passing of the 15th Amendment, America had laws for the prevention of African American presence in politics. Laws were passed, some known as the Grandpa Clause, and the requirements to pass literacy tests. These laws were specifically made to target African Americans. The Dallas County Voters League in Selma, Alabama, had countless efforts to get a larger African American voice in the system. The SNCC had been trying to end these unconstitutional requirements, however, did not receive outside support. It was Amelia Boynton had invited Dr. King in.
My people weren't allowed to have a voice in our country. I witnessed all of the struggles that we went through, like being harassed in public places and not having constitutional rights.
The SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, organized most of the campaigns for Selma.
Mass meetings were very impactful as we would gather for hours on end to talk with one another. Marching was another way that we stood up for ourselves. We sometimes marched for days on end just to show the hardships we'd go through for our rights and a voice in our country. The whites tried to stop us many times, but we kept going. They continuously attacked us and assaulted many who participated in these marches and gatherings. I can recollect a time where voting was nearly impossible. We could stand in lines for hours on end just to find out that only a couple people actually got to vote. The offices were open only twice a week and 15 people were allowed to register.
On March 7th of 1965, a march was led by the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the SNCC. Over 500 people were participants and were cut off by police wearing gas masks and batons. Marchers were gassed down, both men and women, and 57 were taken into medical custody. The press and television cameras continuously caught footage broadcasted to 50 million viewers with officials screaming vulgar language.
Bloody Sunday was one of the worst scenes I've ever encountered. The police blocked us from going any further and began to gas people down. Many got hurt on that day because of the riot that they caused. Being a part of the riot, I had my skull fractured. They had no mercy for us and wouldn't tolerate anything.
Dr. King had organized powerful leaders to join him in another march 2 days after Bloody Sunday. When they met police, they prayed and turned around to walk back. King had secretly planned out the march with the federal government, enraging the SNCC. This day was to be known as Turnaround Tuesday.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on.
On March 21st, 2 weeks after Bloody Sunday, 3,000 marchers were led by Dr. King and many other civil rights leaders. The marchers covered about 16 miles a day with cheerful outlooks. Dr. King made an optimistic speech to 25,000 people, the largest civil rights gathering in Southern history. However, the white supremacist backlash led to the murder of a white mother carpooling marchers back to Selma. She was shot dead at the wheel, and Alabama had acquitted the murderers.
The day that the Voting Rights Act was passed, we were extremely happy because our prayers were finally answered. The amount of people that could vote jumped tremendously.
The march from Selma to Montgomery increased the pressure on political parties, and 75% were in favor of the Voting Rights Act. It would ensure that there would be no prevention to allow blacks from registering to vote, enforcing the 15th Amendment. The law terminated literacy tests, and if there were low amounts of black voters, states like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana were investigated. In August of 1965, the presidential signature was finally added.